when it comes to my next move, what's my plans of the next move? I've sort of already started. Hi, Alan Hibbard's with me once again, and we've got some viewer comments. Alan, you want to show us what you've got there? I think Dan sent these to you, right?
Yes. Thanks, Mike. I've got a couple I want to go through, and they're actually pretty common questions. Basically, people are wondering at what point do they sell, and what do they turn their precious metals into when that time comes? So the first question here comes from Stephen Fishman. What should I do when silver explodes? Should I sell for fiat? Should I sell and get real estate? Or should I sit with my silver and just hold it until I need something? I don't want to lose the gains I've made.
Very good comment. And we've heard this hundreds of times. So hopefully we can just point people toward this video the next time these questions come in. But I have something called an insiders program. In the insiders, you get to learn what I am doing with my investments. And we used to add a bunch of value adds to that. We had before Dan started feeding me all of my, a whole lot of the stories and so on that I'm able to make videos out of are sent by Dan. So he's also become a research guru on this as far as just researching what's going on with the economy. But we used to have a 2-minute update every day. So we were paying somebody to aggregate news and tell people what happened in the world that they didn't hear from the mainstream media. And so every morning that was ready for me. So this person would start working at like 11 p.m. and work until 5 a.m. The problem was that wasn't what was promised. Insiders, what we promised was that you get to know what I am doing with my investments. And it was so costly that we were doing the insiders program as a loss. In other words, I was paying for it. It was coming out of my own pocket to be able to give this information to people. So eventually we ended that, and more of that information is going into these videos, the types of things that we make and give away for free. But the insiders program does take a purchase of at least 10 ounces of gold or 500 ounces of silver, I believe. And I haven't had any changes in my portfolio or anything to add for a few months. So it is sporadic, but whenever there are big changes, you get updated. Now, to answer this question specifically, what should I sell for? Fiat? Should I sell and get real estate? Or should I sit with my silver and just hold it until I need something? He doesn't want to lose the gains he made. Yes, silver being so much more volatile than gold. If you look at what happened back in the late 70s, early 80s, silver lagged gold until the sometime in late 79, and then just blew the doors off of gold when it came to the total returns in just a few months. I believe history will repeat when it comes to that. There will be a point where gold is perceived as too expensive, and when the public starts shifting their preference to silver, which is what happened in 79, silver will blow the doors off of gold. We can't, these gold silver ratios above 100 are just totally insane. That cannot last. And so at 100, if it drops to 25, you just got 4 times the performance of gold. If it drops to 20, you got 5 times the performance of gold. Now, what I am going to be watching, and something that we are planning to add to insiders, is I have 22 different indicators that we still have to finish back testing, because a lot of them are common knowledge indicators. The Dow gold ratio, gold against the currency supply ratio, the gold silver ratio. Those are things that people know about, but there's a whole bunch of proprietary ones that I've come up with that we won't disclose until they become widely commented on, and then I get to say, oh, we've been tracking that for so many years. It's this ratio in our buy-sell indicator on the insiders. But what I plan on doing is, based on numbers, strictly on numbers and not emotion, trying to sell 20% of my holdings, 20% of the remainder, 20, and then you're never out of it. And if gold doubles, the other 80% that you had, you make such gains on, it doesn't really matter that you sold. It matters a little, but that you sold that 20% a little too early. but you want to make sure that you capture around this peak. Anybody that says they can nail the top is lying. Anybody that does or has in the past or does this time around is just lucky. They happen to be somebody that made a sale on that particular day. But what do you sell for? Well, if it looks like the dollar is still in trouble, what you want to do is ride your silver down to these low gold-silver ratios. When it hits 20, you may want to sell a percentage and convert it into gold, not into fiat currency or real estate or anything else yet. You want those to bottom and look for some sort of confirmation signal. Real estate is very slow, and so the confirmation signal, you can wait for a couple of years. You can wait a year for it or 2 years. It's not going to make a V bounce bottom. The stock market is much quicker, but we have those ratios established, and you may want to, if the Dow Gold gets to 5 ounces of gold equaling the Dow, and you're also getting confirmed by the gold-silver ratio of dropping below like 25, then you may want to sell a portion and convert it into stocks. But then if the Dow goes to 3 or 2, you might want to do a little more. But I have a feeling the Dow Gold ratio could hit like 0.5 this time around, because the bubbles are so much bigger than they were in 1929 and 1966 that we're coming off of, the reversion that we are going through. And so if it goes right now, I think we're at 12 to 1 or something like that. Do you know what the Dow Gold ratio is, Alan?
It was about 12.5 when I looked the other day.
Okay. So 12.5, if it goes to half, from this point forward, you're going to get 25 times more shares of stock for each ounce of gold that you own right now. So it's massive gains in wealth. There's that. You can convert to gold. You could, if these confirming indicators are all lining up and it looks like we're nearing the peak, then conversion into other assets, such as buying businesses. If there's a business that you like, that's a cash flowing business, you may want to become a majority stakeholder in that business so that you've got control over a small private business. So an equity holding like that, these are all good things. Cash flow real estate, it all depends. I will be, you and I, Alan, will be doing studies to try and determine what the most undervalued asset classes are in comparison to gold and silver. And so it may involve not going to fiat currency until you've got to convert it for the few days that you need it to buy that next asset class.
Yeah, so this question here was more theoretical, right? And the next question is a similar version, but it's actual. This comes from Michael Alt. He says, Mike, Alan, I would love to start hearing about your specific plans for what's next when gold and silver go to the moon. I've heard mentions of real estate, high dividend stocks, but would love a more in-depth look at your specific plans because you don't give financial advice. He's right. Also would love to hear any thoughts on how to minimize the impact of the crazy capital gains taxes on metals.
Well, the only way you can minimize that impact of the crazy capital gains taxes, the thing that you can do is you can move to Puerto Rico. Sorry. And it's not easy down here with regulation and the way banking is done and working with the government and taxes. It's really not worth it unless you're going to save millions. Either pay those taxes or move to Puerto Rico, get an Act 60 and pay zero. That is how to mitigate your taxes. When it comes to my next move, what's my plans of the next move? I've sort of already started. I bought a 900-acre farm at the very top of Puerto Rico, and everything I do is mission driven for some reason. All throughout my life, there's got to be a reason to do it beyond just making a profit. It has to make a profit to survive. Profit has become a dirty word, and that is a bad sign when profit becomes a dirty word in a society because without profit, we all die. It's that simple. You have to personally make a profit that is greater than your expenses to survive, unless you're one of those that is getting charity from the government, which is actually the majority of the population. Net taxation works out, I believe, to about, when you go to the Fed's website, find out what they're spending on us each, it's like $32,000 per man, woman, and child. It's the not just per it's much higher per taxpayer. So if you got a family of three, just one kid and a spouse that isn't working, you really have to be paying about $90,000 of tax just to be break even for society, to where you're not living off of the charity of others. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news for everybody, but these are just numbers from the IRS. So what I'm doing, though, I've got a mission, and it's based on, one of the biggest threats that humanity faces right now is that, and this was getting to be big news back in 2018 and 19, and then COVID came along, everybody forgot about it. The world is in the 6th mass extinction event right now. It's called the Anthropocene extinction event. The scientists agree that the current rate of extinction now is somewhere between 100 and 1,000 times the normal background rate of extinction. So species that are going extinct. And this is very dangerous. When it comes to climate change, people that say it's decided are wrong, because if you go back before Al Gore's data, you will find that there are times where temperature rose first and then carbon dioxide followed. So that contradicts the climate change theorists. So I say that the jury is still out there. However, you don't see a mass extinction event without a sudden change of the gaseous composition of our atmosphere. And we're going through that rate of that accelerated rate of change right now, and we're in a mass extinction event. So perhaps we should be slowing down this experiment that we're doing on our atmosphere. And that is what I'm doing with my farm, 900 acres at the very top of Puerto Rico, where we have all of these. First of all, I can grow crops that other large farms in Puerto Rico cannot. I can grow broccoli, and I can compete with California and Canada, not other Puerto Rican farmers. And that food that is all imported, 85% of Puerto Rico's food is imported. It's up to 40% more expensive. And so that extra profit margin gives me the ability to do experiments in sustainable, organic, regenerative permaculture farming that sequesters carbon dioxide and hopefully power this farm off. Right now, we're all powered off of solar. We're probably going to be doing a small hydroelectric plant. So we're an electric farm that sequesters a whole lot more carbon dioxide. This is something that mankind, farming is something mankind does globally on a massive scale that can be turned from atmospheric carbon positive to atmospheric carbon negative. Right now, farming is responsible for 9 to 18% of all greenhouse gas emissions. If we can discover techniques that make this organic, regenerative, sustainable permaculture farming less expensive, more profitable than chemical monoculture, we've just changed the world. Part of the reason that species are going extinct is all the pesticides and chemical fertilizers and herbicides that we use in farming, and we don't use any up here, and we're successfully growing these crops. So I'm going from the financial part of the economy. I think the whole economy is shifting. It was financialized, and now it's going back to production. And I'm trying to be one of those that produces more than I consume and pushes the world along and helps solve major problems. And anybody can see what we're doing if you go to, it's Freedom Farms is the name of the farm, but it's ffpr.farm. And I'm having an event up here at the end of the month, so the 30th of May to the 3rd of June. And there will be several people here, and we'll be hearing from all of these experts and government officials and so on this project that we're doing. So it's going to be pretty exciting. People can go to ffpr.farm to learn about it, not .com, .farm. So
awesome. Is that event open to the public or no?
It's only open. We only have just a few seats left. And so it's only open to, we have to, anybody that wants to come can submit why they want to come and how they can push this thing forward. There is an events page on the website.
Beautiful.
Okay.
And you do have another event that you wanted to mention.
Oh, yes. I'm going to be at Rebel Capitalist Live in Orlando, Florida. And that happens this coming Thursday, I think, is when it starts, Thursday or Friday. And George Gammon is, there's a lot of people at this event that are smarter than I am, I have to admit. And George Gammon is one of them. You want to hear from George Gammon. Brent Johnson lives here in Puerto Rico, runs a fund, very, very smart. We agree on certain things. We disagree on certain things. Oh, Kenny. Kenny was part of the Rich Dad team. So I traveled the world with Kenny. I've appeared, Ken McElroy. I've appeared with him. Now, I think he's a billionaire now. He's got his own private jet. He's got more than either 2,000 or 20,000 doors. I can't remember. He owns huge apartment complexes. And you want to learn from as many people as possible. Kenny is one of the people that I've been learning from to go into the next phase, because one of the other assets that I might be going into is cash flow real estate beyond my farming. Robert Kiyosaki. Robert gave me my start in this industry. Joseph Wang used to work at the Fed, and he was the one at the trading desk during QE. Joseph Wang got to spend more currency, more US dollars than any person in history. This guy got to spend trillions, basically about $8 trillion is what he got to spend. I mean, he didn't get to keep any of it personally, but he was buying all the mortgage-backed securities and US treasuries for the Federal Reserve during QE. Rick Rule, so scroll down another line here. Rick Rule, he is one of the most eloquent speakers I've ever heard. And he really puts things in perspective. An incredible mind. I've had him on my channel many times. Jason Hartman has become a friend of mine, really always looks on the bright side. He sort of thinks that I look on the doomsday side. I look on the doomsday side for the general economy. I view myself as looking on the bright side because I have been in the, other than Bitcoin, which I'm also in, but gold and silver have been the best performing asset of this century. How can that not be the brightest side of things? And then the MC of this event is Robert Helms, who I just interviewed last Wednesday. I don't believe his interview is up yet. You'll be hearing from him. He's become a personal friend of mine, and what a guy. And again, he owns the largest hotel in Belize. He's had businesses all over the place. And so you really want to hear from all of these people to expand your vision beyond just precious metals and beyond the doomsday stuff that is in the economy. I have to admit to everybody that reading about all of this bad stuff and all of these bad choices that the politicians make is depressing. It is very hard on me. Sometimes I just want to, I've got my own mountain, but it's in a tropical area. I always envisioned myself up in the Rockies or the Sierra Nevadas, but I just want to go to a mountain and shut out the rest of the world and take time off from all of this. The stupidity of, and then I see the way man treats his fellow man with all of these wars. And, in the previous administration, we were going toward censorship and a lot of government control. And then in this administration, we're going toward tariffs and just all of these really bad ideas that infringe on us just living.
I agree completely. I agree.
Hi, this is just a quick reminder. We're offering you free silver at GoldSilver.com as a thank you for choosing us as your dealer. Just click the link below for details.